Hello, and welcome to another episode of Five Alarm Task Force. I'm your host, Steve Green. Happy to be with you and happy to have you here with us. And today I have a guest who I think we've been working on this for 2 years almost to make this happen. And this is Chief Joe Manning. He's an experienced fire service professional with over 27 years in the service with small to large departments. Forward-thinking, hands-on leader who leads from the front with dedication to empowering those around them to better themselves. Over 16 years working within training fire rescue employees from new hire orientation programs, in-house driver operator, officer, and live fire evolutions. Accomplished publisher and writer in Florida Fire Service Magazine, which I got to find that. I didn't even hear about that, so I'm going to see if I can find that and subscribe to that. He is a presenter at fire service conferences, results-oriented professional with successful accomplishments in all aspects of training, safety, accountability, and leadership. Works collaboratively within a team environment. That's so good to hear. Passionate for the job and dedicated to making the service better today than it was yesterday. Chief Joe Manning, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
It's our pleasure, and especially since this is your first podcast.
Yes,
so
sir.
We're honored to have you with us for that. And this morning, we're going to be talking with the chief on two specific subjects. Something got in the way of my eye tooth and I couldn't see what I was saying. We're going to be talking about in the first segment, training in today's fire service. Well, somebody said, well, I joined 10 years ago. How different can it be? You'll learn. And our second segment today will be about recruitment and retention, which is, as you know, if you're regular listeners or viewers, you know that this is a very, very important topic to us, probably second only to the issues with firefighter cancer and PFAS and PFOS in our gear. As a matter of fact, this morning I had an appointment with my hematologist, and I have been cleared completely from any dangers from PFAS and PFOS. But it's still inherent in our gear and some stuff that we use. There are new products coming on. If you watched a couple of weeks ago, we had the people from Fireground Supply with the new Eco-Gel, which has been approved by the USDA and UL. Those are pretty good confirmations to get about a product that is made with all natural food products. You'll be surprised if you go back and watch the video and watch the demos that we did on the video with them, and you'll be amazed of how this works. So we add that to the fact that that kind of affects our training and what happens really on the fire ground. Then in the second half, we know the importance today of recruitment and retention. And it should be retention first, as Chief Tony Correa has often corrected me, and I've tried to take it to heart, is that if we can't keep our own people, how are we going to bring anybody else in? So Chief, let's get started, please. And let's talk about where your sights are set in training in today's fire service, please.
So my sights are set far in the future. Like I said, I've been doing training since about 2007 in the fire service. Small department at that time as a lieutenant in the organization, but I held training for the whole department, as well as bringing in our learning management system software, which at the time was Target Safety, which is now, of course, Vector Solutions, which is a great opportunity for us to be able to do that training in, especially a busy house, busy department, to get some of that training still on the books and documented. In between running all those calls, we can't get the downtime to do the hands-on as much as we like. So having that ability to still conduct some form of training on a daily basis, documenting that training so we can look forward for our ISO ratings as well as accreditation.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I think the ISO rating, which I didn't learn about till I first joined as a volunteer and way back in '77, was how important this all is for us. In my day, in my first department, our chief at that time was considered a national expert in flammable liquid fires, and he had a nice deal with 3M, and we had probably 155-gallon pails of AFFF back in those days. As I've said on the show before, I was very lucky. The only time I got touched by it was on my toe of my boot, which I washed off when we left the fire ground. And thank God, no worries. And as I said, I've been cleared from any problems with PFOS and PFAS. But I think that our new people, because we're seeing a lot of heavy retirement now, we're seeing across the country.
Yes, sir.
And we're trying to fill those spots ably with people who want to be there. And, it's not a job at the bank. Go in at 9, leave at 4, and that's your day. We don't have that luxury. We have to be on the game, on the ball, 24/7. Whether you're a volunteer or career, part pay, WUI, it doesn't make any difference. That's what our aim has to be, is to do the best jobs we can. And I think that comes from the best training that we can do locally, regionally, and nationally.
Yeah, Steve, it's crazy you talk about that, right? The new cadets coming in today, in today's fire service. I've been the training chief of my organization coming up on 7 years here in February. And in 7 years, I've brought in over 100 firefighters. So we're 150 line personnel, and about 100 people are under that 7 year mark. So it's a crazy number to think about, that the amount of longevity and experience that we've lost over the past 7 years of people that have retired and left the profession. So
Right.
Bringing these guys and girls young in right out of the fire academy, we put them through our own in-house orientation program as well. So it's kind of teaching them all over again how to do it our way and what we're looking to do. I like the mentality of crawl, walk, run. So definitely starting with the basics, hands-on, and just going teaching them first how we want them to do it, working through that, and then just increasing it until we're full-fledged, just going out fully and pulling the truck up, and then they pull lines, forcing the door, making entry, and making the seat of the fire. So to teach it that way, to me, is the best. I've been in a training scenario where you just get talked down and just not given what was expected of you, just kind of told, hey, do this. And then once you've done it, and it's like, hey, you did this wrong. Definitely not my mentality. It's definitely, we're going to start from the beginning. I'm going to lay it out specifically for you how we should be doing it and how we want you to do it. So that way we're successful every time. To me, I would like to see mistakes in training, because that's our opportunity to make those corrections, and then we can do it right. Rather than when it's out in the field and where lives depend on it.
Right. Now you're located in Florida, as I am, right?
Yes, sir. I'm in the Pinellas County on the west coast of Florida there.
Okay. Yeah, we had a couple of people on the show from other parts of Florida, which I like, because it's been my home state except for 2 years, since 1985. So, I was hoping when I moved down here that I first worked in Hollywood, Florida, and no volunteer places down there. There are a couple in Greater Fort Lauderdale, some small communities, but I don't live close enough for a response. And, at my age, 72 and a half already, I can't actually work in it. But, unfortunately, I tried getting our department locally a number of years ago to accept fire police, because I worked on fire police at both the departments I was a volunteer at. And I find it provides much safer situations for our apparatus coming in, because they're out there right away. They know when to stop traffic, let us get through, do what we have to do, keep the traffic flowing. And when it's time to go home, again, same thing they do for us. And I'm up north in Carolina and upstate New York. I just saw that it was a great opportunity to be, especially if you can't do active firefighting. Fire police is a great way to do it, but it's just not really accepted down here in the state of Florida.
No, it was very, very hard. Even before I started my paid career, I did do a quick stint as a volunteer, and it was located locally here in the beach communities, had a couple single station departments that had some volunteers in it. So I was able to do about a year as a volunteer, just supplementing the paid career that was there. So it was a great experience. Um, to have that opportunity. It's needed to keep your state certification
Right.
current. So it was a great opportunity while I was waiting to find that job.
That's great. And listen, we know that out of the 1.4, approximately 1.4 million firefighters in this country, uh, 75 to 78% are volunteers. But people see, New York Fire, LA County, LA City, Philly Fire, Chicago Fire, and they say, well, that's all over the country. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are fire departments all over the country, but the vast majority of them are volunteers or
Yes,
part
sir.
pays. And we, I think all too often we pass over them. We don't give them the credit that they so richly deserve. No, they're not, they may not have the newest engine or the new electric apparatus and things like that. But you have a bunch of volunteers who are dedicated to do everything they can as firefighters when they're not in their regular job or something like that. And as you said, you started there and you were able to grow into a good job that you finally got. And I think it's good to see that we are able to convert certain number of volunteer firefighters into paid personnel. And I think that's better for everybody around. We have more assurances of coverage when we have that. Uh, More safety, more eyes and more safety. I've always, that was, I learned it from my first chief. And he says, more eyes means more safety. And
It always.
yeah, and in my day, there was two radios in the truck, the one built in and the one that the officer had. We didn't get radios to say if we had a problem or something like that. And the only problem we could learn out from outside is when all the air horns started blaring, and that was an abandoned ship notice for the rest of us. So, how do you see? Now you've had a very good, what you just mentioned, a very good history so far with almost 100, right? Almost 100 people. How
Yes, sir.
are you seeing the people today coming with interest as opposed to those you knew 5 or 8 years ago?
You mean our applicant pool that we're getting?
Yes, yes.
So I would say our applicant pool is probably not even a third of what we used to get. We would post positions or openings for probably 7 to 8 people. We try to hire about twice a year, usually in that eight count. And we'd have over 100 applicants, 125 between paramedics and firefighters. And now, if we get 20, we're really pushing it to get that 20 mark. I think you saw that downturn a little bit during COVID.
Right.
Some schools weren't participating. There wasn't any school going on, so we lost a little bit there. But we're starting to see a little bit of the uptick come back, which is great to see. We just recently put on. I just put on 3 here a few weeks back, and got them out right before all of our hurricanes that came through. So
Yeah, you got
uh,
hit
kinda,
hard
that
this
kind of
year.
shortened our mini academy a little bit. Got them out in the field. Their first shift was when Hurricane Helene came through, so they did get a lot of experience right out the gate for those 3 guys that came on. So,
Right.
but I'm hoping to keep seeing that continue as time progresses, seeing those numbers uptick back up. We're lucky. My organization has a cadet program, and we're working good with the city. And I know we're talking a little bit about recruitment and retention, but we're working with the city to bring them into the city and work in our recreation department as we pay for them to go to EMT school and then move into fire school and then and bring them into the organization that way.
That's great. That really is. But let's get back to the
Yes, sir.
talking with our fire service, um, today's fire service. What are the training? What are the issues that you want to address about training in today's fire service?
So one of the biggest things I see is, we get down to the basics. We've gotten away from those. So getting back to the basics, we've gone to clean cab engines. So no longer is our firefighter pulling the hose line. This is our driver operators now. While the firefighter and the officer are finishing dressing out outside of the apparatus, putting on their air pack, officers getting that 360. We got to get our drivers now into the thought process of pulling that hose line. So we've changed that mentality as we progress and become safer for our members. We're getting the drivers retrained at pulling our hose lines, and what we call now is unloading the toolbox. They prepare, they get that line in place, and then they start dumping the toolbox. We know that you're going to need truck hooks inside. We know that we're going to need an additional backup line once they're inside. So all this is taking place by the driver operator setting up their decon. So all this is training that we're doing to. It's different than what we've done in the past, right? That we used to worry about the probie. All they needed to do is make sure they could pull the hose line. Well, that's no longer the case for us. We're having our drivers do that. So they might have been driving for a while now. So it's something different that we have to retrain and make sure that they're proficient at it.
Right. I know that LDH, well, there's always been the initials LDH. And my day wasn't LDH, it's just 3-inch feeder hose.
Yes, sir.
And now we have what, 5 or 8?
We use a 5-inch.
5-inch. That must provide a lot of faith in getting water on the fires.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any rural areas that you cover that either you
we do not. We're very fortunate. Yeah, we have pretty much hydrants everywhere, every corner. Any of our high hazards have those hydrants right out in front. During the hurricanes, we did lose hydrants along our beaches, so we did have tanker strike teams that came into the county that were very, very beneficial for us to provide that extra water as we had quite a few fires going on at the time.
Right, caused by the storm, most likely.
Yes, sir.
Gas,
yeah,
natural gas, and
yep, electric. A lot of golf carts. A lot of the beach communities have golf carts out there. So the golf carts, electric bicycles, some electric EV vehicles that were left behind. Once that water receded, the salt water got in there. It wasn't long before they were off gassing and going off.
Right, and part of the training, are you doing LI training with LI batteries?
We do some. We did a lot right after the storms. We got the county ordered a bunch of fire blankets for the vehicles, so we got those in. Kind of went to our hazmat units, so we have a hazmat unit that carries those to make it available around the county. So they're strategically placed. 5 different departments have hazmat units, so they're strategically placed so they can get quick and rapid response out there to handle those situations.
So when you start your rookies, your new applicants out, what do they see that first day they come into the station, as opposed to they've been through the academy, they've passed their exams, they come in their first day? What do they see? Who do they meet?
Well, the first day right away, they meet all of our command staff. They come in. We do a quick badge presentation in the morning where they'll meet with the fire chief. He hands them their badge, and then they meet all the command staff upstairs in fire administration before they go over to city orientation. That usually takes them the rest of the morning. After that, they come and they sit with me as the training chief. We kind of lay out what our program is going to entail for them. We have what we call a probationary manual, so it's their Bible for the next year that they'll be working out of. So they get that, and they get the lay of how their program is going to work. Monthly SOP testing, monthly physical abilities testing. We do a 6-month quick checkup again where they get a little bit more additional, and then their final year SOP and then final practical testing that's done with myself, their district chief, and their line crew that they're with. So it's pretty detailed. I would say it's pretty robust for them. It's a busy year for them to go through. And they work pretty hard. And I meet with them on a monthly basis, pretty much. I get an evaluation from their officer, and we sit down and we get to meet and review that and make sure that they're uh, falling in track with to be successful through their probationary year.
So what are some of the challenges that we want to talk about in today, training in today's fire service, even if we cut out 25 of the years that are gone by, past my time? But what are you seeing today? Is it you've been in the department, been a firefighter for a good number of years, and you've gone to conferences, you've gone visited other in shows. What do you see is one of the more difficult aspects of training in today's fire service?
Probably the dedication. We don't have the dedication that we did years ago. I don't feel like you've talked a little bit. The people don't the newer recruits or younger personnel aren't they don't have the attention span or the ability to sit there and not stay off their electronic devices. We know that it's interesting that you can have a conversation or do a training session and you watch someone that gets on their phone. You ask another question in a room to the first person that speaks up and they can answer the question correctly. So they have a different learning mythology than what we grew up with years ago. And it's just how do I engage both my probationary firefighter or the younger firefighter and still keep my senior officers and senior members engaged, where everyone walks out of a training session where everyone's taking home some kind of information, something to put in their Rolodex to pull out if they needed it later on. So that to me is the hardest thing that we're working through right now, and just making sure we engage everyone in every training session that we have.
Well, I think that's a great goal because, oftentimes we've seen it in some clips on YouTube and another social media locations where, we see there's been a terrible fire at a home, and all you hear about is the picture that they're standing in front of the house posing, even though somebody just lost their complete home, and they want to take a picture for social media. I did not grow up in my 8 years before I got hurt in the fire service to take pictures, even before we had phone. And we always had the little Instamatics back in those days. So there was always cameras you could use. It wasn't even spoken about in either of the firehouses I was at, because we just can't take our attention away from what they're doing. And no, I'm not saying that we have to train 9 hours every single day without any breaks. I'm saying that we also have to learn, these new recruits, new people coming in need to learn the level of, I guess you could tier it, tier A, tier B, tier C, what's the proper way to do things. You signed up for this department. You want to get a job at this fire department. Don't start complaining because you have to work, 8 hours that first day, and then it's not for you. And I like what you're saying, because we know because of the pandemic, almost every department, whether it's career or volunteer or any subdivisions of that, are hurting for personnel. And when we're hurting for personnel, that's hurting our communities. And, I've been talking with, like I said, Chief Correa and one of my friends who've been on the show, and we talk about this thing is how do we re-engage the younger people today that, yes, we have new electronic aids, electronic boards that the IC can carry, and doesn't always have to have the big chart hanging out, because now we have electronics that can work. We know we have LI engines have come out from several manufacturers now, and they're growing. and it does keep uh, gas costs down because, of course, that's one of the biggest bills that a department has to pay is the gasoline bills for the apparatus. But I've been a teacher since I was 13.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got hired at my synagogue 2 months after my bar mitzvah. They came to me and said, "You did so well. Would like to ask you if you'd like to get paid for tutoring some of your classmates." I said, "Tutoring?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You did a beautiful job at yours. You can help them, and we'll pay you $1 an hour." And I said, "$1 an hour? I got it. I'll take it." 13 years old, $1 an hour. I was in a small band. I was making $30 a weekend. $31 a week was pretty good. But that was then. That was then. But I've always been a teacher since then, in the Jewish community, and I feel that it's our job as educators to embrace the new students who come in and guide them, not just say, "All right, take this book home and read 50 pages by tomorrow." That that's why I've done away with memorization. None of my kids, and I've taught over 1,000 adults and kids in the last 40, 50 years. Um, Never do I embarrass a student because that's not my job as a teacher. My job is to um, not coddle, but take them in, make them feel wanted and needed to do what they're going to do. And I would love to see, and I know there is a lot going on, but I can only get what I get from the trades and online about really, besides just educating about what we do and our tactics, et cetera, to also address life today. You're single, engaged, family, divorced. God forbid there's been a loss in the family. I think that's something we have to be there for our people and let them know. We don't have to wait for it to happen. To let them know if there's a problem, then we're here to offer help, whatever you need, to the best of our ability. And I think that might be something that is worth more than money. A sense
Sure.
of belonging, a sense of being part of something very good. Have a little joking time as well. Be with friends that you make, and that encourages you then to be a better firefighter and be able to do more to the best of your ability. And I think that what you're talking about, I think is very appropriate because you're not just pushing them into the fire. And we've all seen that too many times. Kids belong for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden he's put on the end of an inch and a half or inch and 3/4. Sorry, I'm aging myself. Although it makes such a big difference. Once I did the calculations, how much we were flowing, how much you flow today from what we did with inch and a halves. And then you get the 2.5s, and now you have a 2 3/4 now, I believe,
Yeah.
right? So, and I also like the concept of deluge. If you got to get on the scene and it's really bad, you got to knock it down, just put that pipe up and start with that. You don't need a hand line. Start with getting the water, get the wet stuff on the red stuff, right?
Yes, sir. You touched base on something there, Stephen. You were just talking, and what I like to do is definitely we have to build their confidence. So that's a big thing. If you work on them and they get proficient, and you build that confidence in them, that fear goes away, and now they're able to do their job. They feel that they're prepared when they go out to the field to do their job. You've built that confidence that they understand what they're doing, and they're going to be comfortable and able to do that job. They force the door enough in our mini academy that first door they get, they're going to force it and not going to have an issue. I can guarantee them that our forcible entry prop door is 10 times harder than any other door that they're going to get out there in the field that they see tonight. That first call in the middle of the night that they get, and they're catching a hydrant for them. They've done that so much they could do it in their sleep, and we've built that confidence, that repetition, that they get out there and they are successful. That first fire they get that they're successful at, that just builds their career moving forward. That they know, and it starts building the confidence and gets them through their career. It's great.
It is, and by having that confidence, they become more dedicated.
Mhm.
That's the key. I've had one young man about a month ago, and one coming up this Thursday that I've prepared them for their bar mitzvah. And the first young man, smart kid, a little bit on the spectrum, but a nice kid. And but for the first 6 months, I could barely get anything out of him. And then there was a snap. And in the last 6.5 weeks, he mastered everything I had taught him. And the young man coming up this week, same thing, didn't have any Jewish education background, but I know his dad for a long time. And he came to me and said, would you teach him? And I said, yeah. And the first 3.5, 4 months, I was like teaching a brick wall. And then about 4 weeks ago, he turned and boom, he's all ready for Thursday. And one of the things I try to do with every student when I start them is start building their confidence. I can't do this, Mr. Green. I said, no, not now you can't. We're going to work together and I'm going to teach you how to do it. And I'm not making it hard. And, on average, my preps usually go from 10 to 14, 15 months. But as of late, because these kids are not going to the religious school, they don't have any background when they come to me. And most of them I have to teach the language to. So the first 6 weeks is with a primer to help teach them the language. And then we see where they take off from there. But the whole point is my wife and I and our older daughter who helps tutor with us are always there to support that student and get them to believe in themselves and what they can do, not what they can't do or what they don't know, because we're going to get you over those little bumps one at a time together. We never send them home not knowing what to study or what to do and how much time we expect, stuff like that. And thank the good Lord above for these, 50 years or so. It's been, I'd give it a score of like 92, 93.
That's great.
And that's because we're doing the same thing that you're doing. We do the same thing that you do, but I don't hear that much about it in other fire departments that really, I know they care. I know every chief cares about his personnel, every training chief. But the training chief has a little bit more weight on his or her shoulders because it's the day by day by day, whereas they might see the chief of department maybe once during the day or once every couple of days walking through the station. And yet you're giving them that opportunity to find themselves in this career. And I think that is so important. And I think if we can convert more departments to doing that, both career and volunteer, I think we might be able to bring in a few more good people to help protect our communities and the citizens who live there. And I think that's very important. And I think that's very forward thinking of you and your department, because as we said, the new people coming in basically only think of a fire engine when they were going out in the car with mom and dad and they saw the engine with the lights and heard the siren going. Okay, of course, nobody can give up the sound of a Q2B. I mean, it's always the best. But in that first department in North Carolina, the chief didn't want to put any Q2Bs on because he felt that the alternator would burn out. And then we did some research and we said, Chief, they have alternators specifically for Q2B sirens. They do? I said, yeah. He goes, good for them. So when I left after 4 years, they still just used electronics. But I think that's another good thing is that we have a lot more safety protocols on the apparatus themselves. We have new types of lights. We have safety cloud coming through with people from Hass Alert that all they do is attach electrode to your emergency lighting. As soon as you light that, it starts sending a signal to the safety cloud and the satellites, and that starts warning through your infotainment systems. And now it's the number of cars makers that are including it are a lot. And it comes right up on your infotainment system, no matter what you're listening to. And it says, emergency ahead, please begin to move to the left or move to the right. And whatever you're listening to, it's going to be interrupted because that infotainment screen is going to come up with that warning. And so we keep doing things like this. We're making it safer to be firefighters. We're all working hard to make sure that the manufacturers get rid of the PFAS and PFOS in our gear. What really scared me when I first heard about it in 2016 is when Dr. Graham Keesley, the atomic science professor at Notre Dame University, gathered bunker gear to test. He got brand new bunker gear, never been used, all sealed in the plastic, and he got used gear from different parts as far back to 77. That's when I started. And that gear is really fluorinated with PFOS and PFAS, and it's still the same today, unfortunately. We're getting slow changes. I still have concerns about the FPA and FPA's demand that just for that barrier, we need poisons, carcinogens in our gear. What are we protecting them for? Why should we have them wear SCBAs? If we're not trying to protect our men and women, then why should they even work with us? Because we're putting them in a danger. Like I said, I just saw my hematologist today, and he accounts for every year, my 8 years. And he says, you got exposures you didn't even know about. And as smart as you are as a college graduate, he says, there are things out there that you just don't know. That's in nature. That's been in nature now because man put it there where it didn't belong. And he even talked about the sugarcane in Florida, how they burn those fields. And what do they use to burn the fields? They're not just using a hot stick to do it. They're putting stuff on it to burn. That goes right into the watershed and bang, right into Lake Okeechobee. We don't take these things seriously. But when you're a firefighter and you're working to save someone else's life and preserve your own, to hear that the gear you have could be killing you from the inside out, and you're not going to know about it for 6 years, 10 years, 15 years. That's not good. That's not good for our people who are standing up to be firefighters in this country of any kind. They deserve to have our guarantee, the country's guarantee, that we're getting them and giving them the most safe gear that's available for them.
Steve, we go over and I'm sure you've heard of it, the Lavender Ribbon Report, the 11 best practices for preventing firefighter cancer. We have that poster up in all of our firehouses, and we pride ourselves as an organization that we follow those 11 best practices, up to and including, the shower within the hour, everything from the physicals with LifeScan, the 2 sets of gear, all the good things.
Todd LeDuc is a very good friend of mine. We've known each other 30 years. We both grew up in the greater Boston area. He's been on multiple times. He's been a great friend and a great spokesman when he was the executive assistant fire chief for Broward County Fire Rescue. And now as the soon-to-be CEO of LifeScan, he does a great job with that. And I just can't suggest enough that departments find a way, if at all possible, to work with LifeScan, because they are lifesavers. And it's not getting you the medication after you're diagnosed and it's kind of tough, or they give it to you ahead of time and you know what you're going to face and how to deal with it. And that's the most important thing. They have to feel safe doing this job. We all know there are dangers in this job. You can never take them away 100%. But we always have to strive to do our best. And that means taking care of our people as well, not just handing them the paychecks every 2 weeks. And it sounds like the way you approach and your department approach, you're really trying to get back to some of the more well-used methodologies with them. Let them
Yes,
learn
for
from
sure.
that and then come forward with it.
Yeah, we're lucky. We have life scan pretty much in our backyard
Oh,
here in
that's
Pinellas
right.
County.
Yeah, the brick and mortar's there by you.
The brick and mortar is here and in Tampa, so it makes it easy. I've worked for another organization where they actually came on site, and that was a great opportunity as well. One last thing, Steve, on the training aspect, and it's been important for not only myself but our operations chief as we worked hand in hand over the past couple of years. Our response demographic or landscape has changed. So we had quite a few trailer parks in our response area, and as we've watched those in recent years be torn down and new apartment complexes are coming up, and multifamily residences. So we've changed that. We spent a 2-year project of changing our deployment strategies for first arriving units. Not only are we looking at the LIT mythology, life safety, incident stabilization, and property conservation, but also adding in, that fire attack. We've got our a search group that's going in, and they can go in ahead of the hose line, finding the seat of the fire, starting that primary search, and assisting that attack crew in finding that seat. And then we have our truck crew or another crew on the exterior of the building, softening the building, throwing ladders, performing the VEIS, and just doing additional 360s. Our importance of getting that 5-sided view of our structure, the Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, and then we look at the roof. I know from up north, people look at we got the 6 with the basement, but we're lucky enough here. We do have a few structures with basements, but we don't see the basement fires. But getting that 6-sided view or the 5-sided view, looking at the roof. And we perform multiple 360s. Not only is our initial company officer on scene getting that 360, our safety officers getting another 360, our RIT team's getting another 360. So those are done continuously throughout the operation to either see what we're doing, if it's working, or what are our conditions doing? Are they getting worse? So it's been a 2.5 year project for him and I to do this training. We started with the basics, like I said, right? Forceful entry, ladder work, saw work, and then just started putting it all together. We did 18 days of live fire, bringing crews through, trying different splits and how we wanted to make the crews deploy on the resident. So it's been a passion of love for us to get it done, and it's finally a completed project for us. So it's been a great thing to help keep our firefighters safer. Right? Now they're better prepared to handle the geography that they have that they're seeing out there. It's not just a single wide trailer where I wouldn't be, concerned with if you getting trapped inside, because there's always pretty much you can push through the wall or break through the window and make it into a door real quickly. Now we're up 2, 3, 4 stories in the air, and there's we're trained and bless you and trained and prepared for that. So
I think that's terrific. And I think, I don't know, I don't know if you've written articles on this, but I think this sounds like a great blueprint. Now, I don't think a huge department with 300 firefighters can do it like you're describing, but I think for departments, small and mid-size, I think that's a great way to do it, because you have, of course, we've all seen it in our early years, which is the deer in the headlights look of a firefighter, and especially if it's like in the first 6 months. I got thrown on my first nozzle 3 months after I joined the fire department, and that was the first of 5 in the first 8 months in the fire service, and then we were sent to the North Carolina as a state fire college. I don't know if they still have them. I think they do. And my buddy and I, who I met at the night we were voted in, and he's still my best friend today. He's just finished retired as the chief pilot for Alachua County Sheriff's
Oh, wow.
Office.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're still very close today. And we got sent to the fire college. And I said to the chief, why are you sending us? We're brand new. We're just here 8 months. You have all these other guys. He says, nope, I want you to go. And they sent one of the day guys with us who became our mentor and not just guided us at the school, fire school, but back at the station. Rich and I spent almost every free moment. My wife and I didn't have any kids. She was working 2 jobs as well. And we spent as much time as we could at the firehouse just to learn. And it was that first 4 years was one of the best experiences I've had in my life. I get to feel what I saw in stores and malls where firefighters walking around. Matter of fact, I just sent out to Nick and Andy and kept two rolls of stickers, because I feel that if you're a firefighter, you know, our adage is, I'm sure you know, once a firefighter, always a firefighter. I still carry a complete BLS kit, rescue kit in my car, gloves, ropes. I have two. Matter of fact, after we finish the interview today, I'm going to ask you to stay around. I want to show you a couple of tools that you might like. I get nothing for it. I'm just helping a friend who dedicated himself first to the trades to use it, and then he saw its value for the fire service. So he's been trying. He's given a lot away. Spent a lot of money to give it away to get people to try, and then never hears back from them. But I deemed them the first day he came to my house to do the interview, and I always do. Well, I did on the phone in those days. Didn't have Zoom yet, and he brought all these tools with him to show me. And I sat down in this office and I said, he goes, what, you're looking so, are you upset about something? I said, no, I'm thinking about 8 calls from those first 4 years and another bunch of calls when I was up in Syracuse that I would have loved to have one of these pry tools. And yeah, I'm not saying anything bad about Halligan's. Halligan is a legend, and we're not going to change that. But there can be other tools that can help us do things. Look, we talked about LDH before. Started at 3 inches, now we're at 5 inches. And then you have the super pumpers and things like that. Not everybody can afford a super pumper, but look how we've come. And that's what I've always felt, is that the fire service needs to evolve. Because as we evolve, we get good people in, we get better at what we do, and that means we're saving life and property.
Yep.
That's what I feel it is.
Yep,
So,
that's it.
all right. So, folks, we're going to take a brief break here. If you're watching the video, you're not going to see anything different. If you're listening to the audio, you'll have a couple of PSAs, and then we'll be right back with Chief Joe Manning as we talk about retention and recruitment in today's fire service. As always, please stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to this episode of Five Alarm Task Force. I'm your host, Steve Green, and with us today, after a long time of an invitation, is Chief Joe Manning, right here in the state of Florida, over on the West Coast. Beautiful area. I've been over there a couple of times, and really nice. And I'm so glad to have the chief with us, because in this first segment, if you missed it, we talked about a tiny bit of retention and recruitment, but most about their foresight in creating their training programs for their new firefighters coming in. And what I love about that is they don't throw the rookie who's not even just starting the training in the department, they don't throw him into the fire. That's not the way they teach. They groom each firefighter to know his or her job and make sure they're adept at it, they like what they're doing, and they have that dedication in their heart to the department and their community. That's the way we should be teaching and training our new firefighters coming in. Now, in this section, we're going to talk about, which we mentioned again a little bit in the first part, and retention and recruitment. We all know if you have any wider sense than the firehouse or your apartment or your home, that retention is getting very difficult right now. There are a lot of banking games, I call them, going on between departments of how much they'll pay and what it takes to get in, and maybe we'll make it a little easier. We'll get somebody. But most importantly, we got to keep the people we have because they can be some of the best messengers we have in the community. I've always advertised, and I do it myself, that whenever I'm in a store, I make sure to have some stickers or a pamphlet about fire safety. And I still have one of my jackets from my department in Syracuse, and they see that insignia, the fire badge on it, and they come over, and oftentimes the little kids said, the mom or dad says, "You want to see a fireman or firefighter?" And they say, "Yeah," and I give them a couple of stickers to make them happy. I show them my badge. I show them my wristband, and then I give them a safety pamphlet for the parents to take home and teach that child, those children, about fire safety in the home. So we need good people, and once we find them and they're with us, how do we keep them in this very tight market in the fire service we're seeing right now? So, Chief, let's talk about retention first, please.
So retention, yes, sir. Right, we're looking to keep our membership happy. So contract negotiations are one of the biggest things that we work through. Like you mentioned, pay is always at the top. Unfortunately, it's become a job market where you don't see the people coming in and doing a 25-year career at the same department. They do shop around for the better pay, and that happens. And I'm grateful that our organization did put a big emphasis on this on the last contract for our firefighters and our officers. Got a great pay raise. We did. Now we look and we take to heart the work-life balance to make sure that we stay staffed, so that way people aren't getting mandatory for overtime all the time. But also the new schedules that are going out there, the 24/72 or 96. Our organization is unfortunately too busy to do a 48-hour, the 48/96 shift schedule, just because of the amount of call volume that we have.
How many calls do you average?
We're a 6-station department. We run about 31,000 calls a year. So
70% EMS?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. I'd say 70, 85%. It's EMS. We do get, quite a bit of fire calls, a decent amount of working fires a year in the city limits. So that's a great tool, recruitment tool, but yeah, making sure that we take care of our personnel, giving them the time off. We have an NS day or a Kelly day. So it's a super Kelly. So every 8 shift, you get a shift off. So we got some great things in there for retention. Our apparatus are by far, I think we have a great replacement schedule already in place for 5 years frontline and then 5 years as reserve. It's changed a little bit with, of course, the delays on the apparatus construction and building. So, but that we still keep that in place as best as we can, with the city offering us opportunities to order apparatus early, so that way they get in on time. So, top-notch equipment. We have a robust training program. I think a very good contract. And a lot of young people don't look at it when they get into the fire service, but both your health insurance as well as your pension. We got a great 3.25 multiplier for our pension. So all those things are what's going to keep your membership happy and then working for you.
Right.
Dedicated.
Plus the general attitude that you've explained you have in the firehouse. You don't tolerate hazing. Everybody's an equal. Not everybody's at the same level when they come in, but everybody is an equal player in the game.
Yes, sir.
And that's so important because maybe it's more in volunteer. I don't see it that much in career departments that I've visited and spoken with. But if somebody doesn't feel welcome or comfortable, that's always a problem. And it's not necessarily that person's problem. It could be the atmosphere they're in. And that's why I think Chief Correa has always, proposed that we have to keep our good people with us because they're the ones who are going to bring in. It doesn't cost anything for them to say, hey, why don't you come down we have a drill night Wednesday. Why don't you come on down to this, watch us, see what we do. That little invitation can wind up giving you 1, 2, 3 new people who are interested in it. And I think that's a great way and to let people know that you want to take care of them. We're not just paying you to get up first thing in the morning or wake up 2 a.m. one morning and then wake up 4:30 a.m. another for just to use you as punching bags. We are a family. Every firehouse is a family, and every department is. I looked at departments as the grandparents of the other stations in that community. So you might have 6 stations, but it's one department.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're not going to have the same people in all 6 stations, but you're training them the same way. So that if station 1 goes to help station 3, everybody knows where everything is and what has to be done. And nobody's sitting there with their thumbs in their pockets saying, well, what do we do next? And I think that's a really strong program that you folks have to retain your people. I think that should be a big presentation. I really do. I think it should be at one of the national conferences because it's inherent to who we are and the oath we take, but it's not always practiced. It's advertised, but we know sometimes what advertising does.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So I think the way you've explained it makes almost every employee, worthy of being a part of the organization, and at the same time, they feel comfortable being a part of the organization. And that's
For sure.
key. That's key. All right, so now we have retention, and you do great stuff for retention. What
Yes.
are your concerns and hopes with recruitment today, which is another big battle we're fighting?
For sure. Like you said, we have to determine what our target audience is going to be, right? Where do we want to go and get these people, the personnel to come in and be a part of our organization? Whether we're looking at people from other organizations that are, they're looking for, like you said, the family atmosphere that we offer, the equipment, the pay, those kind of things, and then also how young are we looking? Are we looking? We have a presence in the local high schools at their different career fairs, and it's funny that we talk about social media. The joke we heard the other day was, if you're advertising your department on Facebook, you hope that their parents are going to tell them that you're hiring. That it's more the Instagram and the TikTok, which we do have Facebook, we have Instagram, and we have LinkedIn, those kind of things. We do not do any kind of TikTok advertisement or displaying of the organization. But we also want to make sure that we're portraying the proper image of the fire department. We have a great recruitment video that's been put together by our public educator. She's gone and captured all aspects of our fire department because we're not only looking for firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics. We're also we do recruitment for our inspectors, so that to have them featured in the video, as well as we have a single cert paramedic program. So we're also looking for those type of personnel. So the video displays, all the aspects of the department, all of our specialties that we offer. We have hazmat, we have tech rescue, honor guard, we have SWAT medics. So we have competition, a world-renowned extrication team, as well as a first place RIT team. So we have a lot of opportunity to for people to just branch out and do whatever they want to do in the fire service. But it's not always all you see. Usually in a lot of videos is fighting fires and the big car accidents. Well, we like to display the washing of the apparatus. We're mopping the floors. All those things that they're not the shiny stuff that we're doing of the job, but it's the day in and day out stuff that we are going to be doing.
Right, right. And again, that in my mind brings a sense of stability to the recruitment, because they see in a video like that there's all sorts of things that goes on in the station. Not everything is fire related, and again, if you have that firefighter, male or female, with going to Publix to get some food for the dinner that night, make sure they have business cards and flyers in there so they can hand them out. And that's, people often approach, even me with my jacket, they still approach me and said, are you still a firefighter? I said, no, it's a long time ago, but inside I still am. And then I'll give them a sticker for the kids or one of the brochures. And I think that making that connection to our community is probably an imperative, that we don't complain. Well, I got to go to that address again. You know how many times I've gone to that apartment? Yeah, I do. But that's our job. This is our job. Not every call is going to be a working 3 alarm. It's going to be medical, could be simple transport. And this is how we operate. This is what we do. And if they like that, which I would, putting it that way, I think that'd be a great department to join, because they care about the people who work there, not just make them into automatons that fight fire. They're already looking at flying platforms, giant drones with platforms that can actually bring a hose up. I think last one I saw was to the 8th floor of an apartment building. Yeah. But, they're not available yet. And it's still going to take somebody to fly with it, even though it'll be tethered, but someone's got to direct it and everything like that. And I think that'll be a great point when it gets here. But until then, we need to do everything we can to not only keep the people we have, but let them be our mouthpieces also. And I think the way you've set it up and how you're taking care of your personnel is a great example of how a fire department can be successful. Yes, there are some retention and recruitment problems, but you have 6 teams, and so were they working 24, 48 right now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you have 6 teams over 3 days, so that's 18, and they all get along for the most part, and they each knows the other step. When you're on the fire ground or the rescue ground, everybody knows exactly what their job is. And yeah, you can talk a little bit, back and forth when you're doing it, but the job comes first. And as long as they know that, and they still have that happy-go-lucky feeling, that's great, because that means they're not complaining, and they like what they're doing, even if it's the 5th call on the 8th floor for that same person. We all got those. 50 years ago we had those. When I started. But I love the dedication that this department does for its people. I think it's unique. And I'm not saying you're the only one, but from what I read, yeah. And I think most departments really care about their people, especially today, because, you got to keep them attracted. That's how you're going to keep them staying with you and not looking for, someplace else. If they're satisfied and they're making the money that they need to make, sure, they can have a secondary thing on the side on their days off, get a little more money in. That's fine. They've been doing that for years and years. At police department in my community outside of Boston, we had, when I was 7 years old, my parents had a wooden fence put around our backyard. And who were the installers? Two police officers from our town then. Now it's a city. But yeah, they came in 3 straight days and put up the fence beautifully, checked all the hardware, everything was great, and they became friends. So once in a while, if one of them was on a patrol in our neighborhood, he'd stop, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, how's the Green family doing? Everybody okay?" and stuff like that. There was nothing better to answer that doorbell for. As a firefighter just checking in, or a police officer making sure everything's okay. That's to me, that's doing the job of public safety that we take on along with our brothers and sisters in EMS.
Yeah, it's community focused.
Yeah, community focused. So with the as we mentioned earlier, with the money battles that are going on in today's society in the fire departments, how, with what you offer and the great situation you bring them to in your department, I know you mentioned it earlier on in the first segment that recruitment isn't what it used to be as far as numbers, but you still have people coming in and are interested.
Yes, sir. No, we definitely still have an interest in being a part of our organization, which is great. We have a private ambulance company in the county that runs, so none of the fire departments are transport.
Oh, okay.
So we are all first response ALS, but then we have an ALS ambulance company. So we get quite a bit of traffic from them. They are running the calls with our personnel. They like they said that they seem that all of our personnel seem happy, and they enjoy working here. It's a family atmosphere. So all those things add to our recruitment in getting them to come and be a part of our organization. I would I would definitely want to work in a station rather than sitting in a box on the side of the road waiting for their next call. Eating fast food all day. So to me, having a home base, a station to run out your calls out of, and you're able to turn them around and send them off with the ambulance company and go available for the next call. That to me is ideal. So we do get quite a bit of traffic from that, and then as well as we do have quite a few guys that work at the local college, community college that has a fire academy, so they're able to help recruit people as they're going through fire academy. We try most of the training officers in the county always try to make an appearance out at the academies a couple times. They attend the graduations, and that's just another tool. We can hand out some business cards, especially when we're hiring. Hey, we'd like to see you come and apply with us, and at least get you in front of the panel to see how you do and if you'd like to be a part of our team.
Also, I guess with 6 stations, you really don't worry that much about mutual aid either.
Well, we do. We use a AVL or automatic vehicle locator for the closest unit response. So, Pinellas County is a unique animal with 18 different fire departments that operate seamlessly as one. So, I can be in another city running a call, and somebody can be in my city running a call. And the only reason was they were the closest unit. They maybe were at the grocery store and were, a minute and a half going to be quicker than our unit in the station. So there's no borders per se. So it's kind of nice that, we go all over the county depending on what's going on in other areas. Our ladder truck could be going north all the way to the north part of the county, 12, 15, 18 miles away. So it's interesting how it runs, but it's worked great. I've done over 20 years in this county, so it never had it fail on us once. So
that's great. That really is. And that, of course, that assures your citizens as well. The community knows that the fire department has their back. And with 6 stations you cover, if it's within the city itself, then you have the city covered. And then through the county, everybody's there to help each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
Yeah, if
that's,
we have a large incident, we have our full complement usually on scene within the first 7 minutes. So for a structure fire, so that it really helps out.
it is, I can see, from what you're saying, uh, I watched, the first season of, I think Chopper Pilots. They did it out of, begins with an M, the county, middle, like in the greater, like between Orlando and, Gainesville. I
Yeah.
forget the name now,
Huh.
but, it, it's, it is a, even with them, and it's based on the helicopter pilots flying, but the people on the ground are working it too. And they're all working together. And, the bird has the eyes, and, they tell the police or the emergency vehicle where to go. And you get there. And they say, okay, we'll see you on the next one. You get your job done, you go back home. But to know that you have that much, um, help available, not just from the city, but from the county itself,
Mm.
is always a great, satisfying notion to have to carry around, because you don't have to, where am I going to get more firefighters? I need another couple of engines. Where you got it right there.
You
And
call for it, it's coming. So it's nice to have.
right, right. So for the immediate future, we'll wrap on this. For the immediate future, how do you see your retention and recruitment?
I see our retention currently being good. We haven't had any issues. We've had some retirements lately. We just had a lieutenant retire after 39 years, so a vast amount of knowledge that left with him. But we were lucky enough; we were able to overhire and fill those positions ahead of time. So as long as we see that uptick of our applicant pool growing and continue to stay steady.
Right.
I'd love to interview, 3, 4 people for every position I have. So if I can, get that 30 to 35 people applicant pool and hire 5 people, then I think we will pick the best people that are going to be the future leaders of our organization.
Well, that brings back all the way to when I said I was going to be a captain that I didn't know about.
That's it.
So that's it. You can, some people just want to stay firefighter. They're happy with that. Some people want to go up a step and be EMTs and or paramedics. And another one wants to be an officer. Uh, and you really keep the door open for all those wishes, um, that you can satisfy their interests. Even if, especially even if they're coming from another department and they like the way you're running yours because of that, that might be the new department that firefighter goes to,
Yep.
because they've heard of what your department is doing, they heard how well it's working, and they've heard good things about it. They heard, there is no hazing, there's no beating up on one another. We're one family, and that's what it's all about. And over the years, as I've traveled, I've visited firehouse all over almost in every state that I've traveled to, one way or another, and I've always been welcomed warmly as just another firefighter. They'll ask, "Are you an officer?" Were you an officer? I said, "No, I was just a snot-nosed, belly-crawling nozzle jockey." Uh, that was the chief's name for it. But I didn't mind that. I didn't mind crawling on the floors and stuff like that. I was doing a job, and I was doing an important job. And yeah, I could have been sitting at home in the living room watching TV, but that wasn't me then. I was a man of action.
Yep.
Uh, I worked 80 hours a week, and I still be able to volunteer and make, usually for the volunteer side, make usually the top 10 to 15 responders in both departments I served in. So, and the one in North Carolina, I really cared about. The one in New York upstate New York wasn't as accepting. I'd been certified in North Carolina driving an engine, a pumper, a 75-foot snorkel, and our heavy rescue. I got to Syracuse. I said, after a year, I said, I'd like to I brought all my certifications with me, show them to the chief, say I'd like to become a driver also. I said, I'm here. I'm usually one of the first ones here on a major call, as long as I'm not working. And he said, well, I'll think about it. And then he finally sent the other guy with driving, because, yeah, we're going to let you, you can drive the Suburban. I said, the what? Yeah, the snowplow, Suburban. I said, no, I want an engine. He goes, well, we're not going to give you an engine. So let me do the truck. We don't need you to do the truck. So what do you want me to do with the Chevy? He goes, well, during the day, you can maybe, if we have a call, you can bring drinks to us and snacks. But other than that, when the winter comes, you're going to plow the parking lot for the fire department.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was qualified in basic firemanship 1 and 2 in North Carolina in those days. Then pump operator and hydraulics, and then high level rescue, which was amazing for me because I've been acrophobic all my life. And we went up at the state college, and 6-story building. We were on the roof. My heart was in my throat a little bit, but I was both a rescuer with the stretcher, and I was a patient in the stretcher, going up and down those 6 stories. And then when I came out, I was a bit better because I was up that high. I didn't have anything to hold on to at parts of it, and I was fine. So I said, okay, I'll help. We need that. I'll help with that. So they did. We had 2 calls with a high level rescue. Nobody there was certified in it from the state of New York. And I said, well, let me help. No, we're not going to let you help. All right. Well, that's what it is. Each department has to find its own path.
Yes, it does.
Some paths are great, some are okay, and some aren't that terrific. But as we're talking about, the most important thing is to remember that any firefighter who comes through the door is still a human being, still deserves respect until they don't earn it. But you just take it for a fact initially that you give them respect and they'll give you respect back. And I think the way you've set it up there, Chief, is grooming great new people to come in and take care of our jobs and take care of our communities. They're dedicated to it. And just this last part you mentioned with the mutual aid, with the county and your 6 departments, 6 stations, that you guys are protected. And you're well protected enough that you can protect your entire fire zone. And that's the most important thing we have for our citizens to know in those communities, that they are protected, that people who care about them are taking care of you. That's the big thing.
For sure.
Well, Chief, I can't thank you enough for taking time. I know how busy your schedule is.
No, thank you for having me.
Well, it was I think it was Nick who mentioned you to me, and that's why I dropped the first email. And I got nothing to lose. That's the thing. I send an email. That's how I got Chief Bruno. I got Bobby Halton on that way. Tim Sendelbach. It's just been a very good way to show my respect for the service that I still love, and for the people who still do it.
Thank you.
And so that's what this is all about. Folks, if you're watching the video, this will be the end for the video. If you're listening to the audio, we will be editing that together, and you'll have that available soon. But I really want to thank Chief Joe Manning. He is a very busy chief at the department, and he made time to be with us today. You've already heard how busy he is as we talked about our subjects. And I think that's so important for you as our viewers and listeners understand. Many of you are firefighters. Many of you are EMTs and paramedics. Some of you are WUI. Everybody is still a firefighter. If you put on the hat and the coat and you're helping your community, you're still a firefighter. But it's up to you and the department you work for to find that median where you both fit together perfectly. And it's a group view that we, not I'm here, we are here to take care of the people in our community and each other. Do you agree?
Yes, sir. Very much.
All right. So thank you again, Chief, very much for joining
Thank you
us.
so much.
And folks, we'll be off for the next couple of weeks. Then we'll be back in January with some new guests who were supposed to be on earlier in the season, but I think we're going to be able to grab them for January or February. To all of you, we wish you a wonderful, safe, and healthy holiday season, whichever holidays you observe. Make them nice. Make them about love. Make them about caring. And stay safe and stay healthy. So until 2025, we bid you adieu. Stay safe, stay well, and let's make sure everyone gets to go home. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Bye-bye.